The following program contains images which may disturb some viewers.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. It's ABC Australia. I'm wondering if you can explain the hundreds of millions of dollars in your account. Mr. Prime Minister.
No. What are you trying to do?
No, it's just a press conference.
No. Stay my way.
That was 2 weeks ago in Malaysia. Our reporter Linton Besser and cameraman Louis Eroglu were arrested for challenging Malaysia's Prime Minister about the vast sums of money channelled into his private bank accounts. Their arrest made headlines around the world. For 2 days, our team was barred from leaving the country, facing charges for a crime carrying 2 years in prison. Tonight, we bring you their story, a multi-billion-dollar corruption scandal, murders and intrigue across 4 continents, including Australia. Linton Besser's investigation begins on the streets of Kuala Lumpur, with one man's attempt to bring the Prime Minister to justice.
It's a seemingly ordinary day in downtown Kuala Lumpur. September 4, 2015. One of the city's most senior public prosecutors leaves home and begins his journey to work. He's been deeply worried about his current case. It's a corruption investigation that will rock Malaysia.
Kevin was extremely stressed out on an ongoing case he was working on. And he never really did talk about the case till the last conversation I had with him. And it's when he said, hey, I can't talk much, he said, because my phone might be bugged.
As the prosecutor is caught in heavy traffic, his car is suddenly rammed from behind. The moment is captured on a CCTV camera. A group of men snatch him from the driver's seat and drag him into a ute. Then both vehicles drive away. 12 days later, prosecutor Kevin Marias is found brutally murdered in a swamp on the outskirts of KL. He'd been forced into an oil drum that was then filled with cement.
To have a prominent public legal figure snatched from the streets and brutally murdered in such a way, it's perhaps a demonstration of what Malaysia is really like. It's bizarre and terrifying what happened to Kevin.
I'm 101% confident that my brother was killed. It was an orchestrated attack to silence him.
What's your feeling about who was behind your brother's death?
It was high-level government authorities, extremely high level.
The target of Kevin Marias' investigation was the Malaysian Prime Minister, Najib Razak. The prosecutor's case had the potential to expose the Prime Minister as a criminal and remove him from office.
So I called Kevin, and that's when he told me he's working on a high-profile case. And I said, really? He said, these people are terrible. So...
Who was he referring to?
He was just referring to Najib.
Just prior to his murder, the prosecutor had helped prepare charge sheets against Prime Minister Najib Razak. The documents alleged the Prime Minister corruptly obtained a bribe totalling 27 million ringgit, the equivalent of 11 million Australian dollars, in return for organising a loan for a government-linked company, a penalty that could result in up to 20 years in prison. When you were following the money trail, how important was that document?
Well, this charge sheet was the smoking gun.
The charge sheets were sent anonymously to Claire Rucastle-Brown in London. She's an investigative journalist and the sister-in-law of former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown.
The Najib administration went wild when I published that document because they knew how dangerous it was. They were trying to shut this down, cover it up.
The Malaysian government has charged 7 men over Kevin Marias's murder, including a military doctor he was prosecuting for corruption. But Charles Marias and others are convinced the charges are a cover-up.
I believe they were involved in the killing, those people, but I'm confident the order to kill came from way high up.
Why was your brother Kevin Marias killed?
He was killed because he was investigating and he drew up the charge sheet, and that's why he was killed.
4corners has come to Malaysia to investigate this murder and a political scandal engulfing the Prime Minister, Najib Razak.
4corners has been told that Kevin Marias's boss, the Malaysian Attorney General, planned to lay a criminal charge against Prime Minister Najib Razak at a cabinet meeting in July last year. The Prime Minister was going to be accused of the misappropriation of public funds. The Attorney General briefed senior officials, including the Deputy Prime Minister, who would have had to step into the top job. But the plan was leaked, and both the Attorney General and the Deputy Prime Minister were removed from office.
You sack your Deputy Prime Minister who just wants to know what happened. You sack the Attorney General who, I believe, preparing a charge against you. Well, this is unprecedented. I don't think we ever witness this kind of massive dismantling of the institutions of government to cover up crime.
The $9.5 million payment to the Malaysian Prime Minister that was being pursued by Kevin Marias is just one of many unexplained payments he's received. His official salary is about $130,000, yet his personal bank accounts have overflowed with hundreds of millions of dollars in unexplained wealth.
The amount of money involved is huge. It is unthinkable that a Prime Minister should have such huge sums of money in his own private banking account.
Dr Mahathir Mohamad, Malaysia's former Prime Minister and one-time mentor to Najib Razak, has become one of his biggest critics.
This is wrong. This is totally wrong. A Prime Minister of Malaysia should never have that amount of money in his private account. If he has, it must have come through some undesirable activity.
I now officially launch the Tun Razak exchange.
The saga that has embroiled Prime Minister Najib began 7 years ago with the establishment of Malaysia's National Wealth Fund, 1MDB. Rather than build prosperity, it's racked up debt.
The fund has performed disastrously. I think terribly doesn't quite describe how the fund has performed. Every single investment that 1MDB took has failed. It has resulted in billions of dollars of debt, which it is unable to repay. And today, the Malaysian government is forced to bail out this particular entity.
The 1MDB Advisory Board is chaired by Prime Minister Najib Razak. In 2009, 1MDB set up a joint venture with a company called Petro Saudi. The deal was brokered by a high-flying Malaysian playboy businessman called Jolo, a friend of Paris Hilton and Prime Minister Najib. Photographed together on a luxury yacht in the Mediterranean were Jolo and the Prime Minister. Joining them were two key Petro-Saudi executives.
Well, that photograph was taken in August 2009, mid-August, off Monaco. And what it does is it shows the key players at the time that they met and agreed to do this deal. So you see who's involved. You've got Jolo, you've got Tariq Abeid of Petro-Saudi, you've got his partner at Petro-Saudi, Prince Turki, you've got Najib there. And what emerges from that a few days later is an email between Tariq and Jolo saying, following our meeting and our discussions, I'm going to introduce you to my company and my fellow directors, and we're going to go ahead with this deal.
It was effectively a scam, wasn't it?
The deal was, in essence, a transaction to enable 1MDB to siphon out at least, if not more, $1 billion of cash to parties outside of the deal for expenses that we are unaware of.
Exactly where that money went is unclear. It's now the subject of at least 4 investigations across the world, probing the billions of dollars that have flowed out of 1MDB. Last year, journalist Claire Rucastle-Brown revealed $680 million had been paid into Prime Minister Najib Razak's personal accounts.
Well, for the first time, there was evidence, there was proof. I mean, you talk to anyone in Malaysia and they'll all say, oh, the corruption, it's unbelievable, money politics, billions being stolen, but there was never any proof. And once we had obtained that, it was electrifying. The effect was huge.
The revelations prompted protests across the Malaysian capital. Tens of thousands of people took to the streets. Despite public outrage, Malaysian investigations were shut down after the new Attorney General said the $680 million found in the Prime Minister's accounts was a donation from the Saudi royal family.
Well, he needs to explain where he gets the money. When you move huge sums of money, there must be some record, some documentary proof of the existence of the money, the source of the money, the banks that are used, and how the money is transferred by the bank to his account. Apart from saying that it was a gift from somebody, there is nothing else to prove that it was a gift. Because we need to know the person who made the gift must be extremely rich to be able to just give away $681 billion. The
Malaysian government says Najib Razak has returned more than $600 million he received in 2013 and closed 2 of his accounts. But 4corners has established that 3 new accounts were opened in the Prime Minister's name and the money just kept on pouring in. In June 2014, for example, the bank was notified of another 50 million British pounds that was to be wired into the Prime Minister's name. There were also a series of cash deposits that raised money laundering alerts here inside the bank.
A high-level source has shown 4corners the Malaysian Prime Minister's bank accounts. The banking documents reveal an extraordinary and steady flow of money between 2011 and 2014. By June 26, 2012, the bank records show deposits worth $75 million from a Saudi prince, $80 million from the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Finance, and another $120 million from a shell company in the British Virgin Islands. On the 21st of March 2013, the Prime Minister received $620 million from a different company registered there. 4 days later, the same donor deposited another $61 million. By the 10th of April 2013, the Prime Minister had received more than $1 billion.
This has to be one of the biggest kleptocracy cases ever. Billions of US dollars have gone missing. And the network of money transfers is global. It's dragged in so many major financial institutions. And this is why the impact of this particular case could be very, very far-reaching.
The money is going to the personal account of the Prime Minister. It's hard for us to trace where this money is coming from. The fact that it's going to the personal account of the Prime Minister is unprecedented too.
Here at AmBank, the Prime Minister's bank accounts were held under the code name Mr X. The bank's founder was Hussein Najadi. His son, Pascal Najadi, lives in Switzerland, where I spoke to him via Skype.
Mr Najadi, I understand that in 2013 your father told you he'd discovered large-scale corruption in Malaysia.
Yes, my father has been lamenting at the lunch in Kuala Lumpur about this, and he was throwing his hands up and saying, my God, this Prime Minister Najib is lining his pockets, they are robbing the country.
Just 5 days after their conversation, Hussein Najadi was gunned down in the car park of a Chinese temple in downtown Kuala Lumpur.
For us it was clear this was not a random shooting or random murder. This must have been that there were high powers at hand that have been able to execute such a public place execution midday Kuala Lumpur downtown.
Your father left AmBank in the 1980s. Why are you so convinced that he had become aware of the Prime Minister's accounts?
My father was one of the old boys of that country. He has helped to build Malaysia, helped to modernize Malaysia, and he was still in touch with personalities, talking about the old times, talking about the old days, nothing business in particular, just staying in touch with the folks. Where we got much more clarity, Linton, was when we took an audio witness on audio recording who confessed or who was revealed to us that my father, according to this witness, went with him to the central bank governor's office to complain about certain observations.
There's no evidence Hussein Najadi's death can be linked to the scandal engulfing the Malaysian Prime Minister. Pascal Najadi plans to appeal to the United Nations to conduct an inquiry into the murder. Malaysia's banking regulator was told at least 3 times about the enormous deposits into Prime Minister Najib Razak's personal accounts.
4corners has learned that senior AmBank officials came here to the Malaysian Central Bank Governor to warn her about Najib Razak's personal accounts way back in September 2012. Their report was marked highly sensitive, and it revealed that almost $300 million had already flowed to Najib Razak from several mysterious donors overseas. Yet the central bank governor, Zeti Aziz, merely thanked them for their report and handed it back.
Zeti Aziz is still head of Malaysia's central bank. We wanted to know what action she took about Najib's accounts.
Hello, Dr. Zeti.
Yes.
I'm from ABC Australia.
Yes.
I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions about your role regarding the Prime Minister's bank accounts. We're trying to understand why you didn't do more when you were alerted about the hundreds of millions of dollars flowing into them.
Well, first of all, I cannot discuss any individual account, including even your own account, because no central bank or regulator can look at individual accounts. But if the financial institution inform us of what they call suspicious transactions, then we will investigate into it.
You're a member of the task force investigating all of these issues. What's been the outcome of that? Is it true what the new Attorney General has said, that Najib Razak has no case to answer? Is that true?
I have no comment on this at this point in time. As I said, that no authority will discuss any investigation that has not been concluded.
So who is behind the money flowing into the Prime Minister's bank accounts?
As I said, I cannot comment on this.
Okay,
it is an ongoing investigation.
Accusations against Prime Minister Najib Razak date back almost a decade. The first scandal was in 2002, when Najib Razak was Defence Minister overseeing a $1 billion submarine deal between Malaysia and France. It embroiled some of Najib's closest confidants in allegations of kickbacks, cover-ups and another murder. French authorities have indicted the former head of French arms firm Thales. They acted after an investigation by Malaysian anti-corruption campaigner Cynthia Gabriel into a $108 million commission paid to a Malaysian company.
It wasn't just this payment that was of question. It was a couple of other payments as well that were made that seemed murky and seemed very shady, that did not have very clear reasons for why the payments were made.
The middleman in the submarines deal was a senior advisor and friend to the Prime Minister. His name is Razak Baginda.
We don't know who he is, apart from him being a close associate and friend of Najib. So until today, we are not certain if he was actually on a formal contract with the Defence Ministry or whether he was just negotiating a very large multi-million-dollar contract only because he was the friend of Najib Razak.
The allegation is that kickbacks were given to the middlemen who negotiated the deal in France. That is the allegation. That allegation now has to be investigated properly.
What thrust the corruption scandal into the global spotlight was another murder. This time, the victim was a 28-year-old model from Mongolia named Altan Tuya Sharabu. She worked as a translator. It's also been alleged she was having an affair with Najib, something he's always denied. But his advisor, Razak Baginda, was sleeping with her.
He did admit that they were having a romantic relationship for a while. And then the events that led to her death suggested that he was trying to get rid of her.
The model, Altan Tuya, wanted a cut of the money from the submarine deal.
Interestingly, her father had said that Altan Tuya had left a note to say that she was coming to Malaysia to pick up her share of the commission, which amounted to about $100,000.
On October the 19th, 2006, Altan Tuya Sharabu went to Baginda's house to demand money. She was kidnapped by 2 Special Forces policemen. She was driven into the jungle and shot twice in the head. Then they attached military-grade explosives to her body and detonated them.
Altan Tuya was brutally murdered in 2006. Her body was blown up by C4 explosives, and it was really shocking because these explosives are normally used to bring down buildings. It's that powerful, not to blow up a body.
I would like to say here,
Najib's advisor, Razak Baginda, was initially charged with ordering the murder, but he was later acquitted.
And what I have said today to all of you is what I told the police, that Datuk Najib had never met the deceased. How do I know? It's like asking me, I mean, I know. Okay, I know.
Najib himself has always denied any involvement with the murder.
Really, there's no shred of evidence at all been presented. Nothing in court, nothing has been said. And in fact, the Mongolian Honorary Council has come out openly to say, look, he examined all the documents and there was nothing to connect me with a Mongolian girl whatsoever.
So you didn't know her?
No, absolutely not.
Translation work for
nothing, absolutely nothing. I have not met her at all. I do not know her at all. And how can I be linked with her?
The allegations have dogged Prime Minister Najib since a private investigator, Bala Subramaniam, swore a statutory declaration implicating the PM's advisor, Baginda, in the model's murder.
She said she know Najib and Raza Baginda met them in Paris. She was the mediator.
Bala was a key witness because he had been part of the whole drama of those last few days of Altan Tuya's life. But Bala was there on that final night, during that final drama, when a car drove up with two thugs and pulled Altan Tuya off the street and drove away with her, the last time she was seen alive. And so his testimony was crucial.
Yeah, I know. It's Najib's brother.
But the PI recanted his statement and claimed in court documents he was forced by people close to the Prime Minister to leave the country.
He offered me 5 million for me to retract the SD. The Malayman asked me whether you are married. I said yes. Do you love your family? I said yes.
Now, to emphasise their desire of getting Bala out of the country, they actually took him to a shopping centre on the outskirts of KL as well. And they met somebody that Bala recognised, and it was the Prime Minister's younger brother, Nazim. And Nazim Razak said to Bala, now look, if you love your family and if you're concerned about their safety, then I suggest that you follow exactly what tells you to do. So a combination of inducement, financial inducement, and threats to the safety of his family made him think that it was probably a good idea to leave.
This scandal has led all the way to Australia. One of the model's killers has been locked up here at Villawood Detention Centre in Sydney's West. Cyril Azhar Umar was convicted over Altan Tuya's murder and sentenced to death. But during an appeal over the case, he fled Malaysia and sought a protection visa to stay in Australia. Cyril told his friends and family he was just a pawn in a political conspiracy.
There seems to be no reason why he should have killed that lady. The allegation is that he must have got instruction from someone senior. He knows a lot as to why this girl was murdered. He has not told us why the girl was murdered and who he was acting for.
Adalah dosa besar kepada saya.
Out of the blue, after months in custody, Cyril released a series of bizarre videos that announced Prime Minister Najib Razak had nothing to do with the model's murder.
Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri Malaysia, Datuk Sri Najib Abdul Razak, langsung tidak ada terlibat dan tidak ada kaitan di dalam kes.
The sole purpose of the videos appears to be to use Cyril to exonerate the Prime Minister. I mean, he doesn't seem to be sitting there doing a video to exonerate himself or to forward his own case. He's doing it to help the Prime Minister.
When 4corners arrived in Malaysia 3 weeks ago, we found a country transformed by fear of its Prime Minister.
I think there is an atmosphere of total terror. It's an incredibly difficult situation for every individual trying to carry out their jobs.
You see, The problem in this country is that everybody is so scared of the Prime Minister.
In Malaysia today, dissidents are silenced, political opponents are jailed, and news organisations are shut down. But people are still finding ways to protest. Street artist Fahmi Riza's image of Prime Minister Najib Razak as a clown has gone viral.
I designed the poster and posted it on my social media sites, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And I received a warning from the Malaysian Twitter police, warning me for posting the poster.
Why? What's wrong?
And not just a warning, I've also been investigated for making the poster. I'm being investigated under there's two charges. One is under the Communications Act, another one under the Penal Code for this poster alone.
Why? Why are they cracking down on it?
Someone wasn't happy with the image and made a police report against me.
Authorities are on the lookout for anti-government critics everywhere. Within hours, Fahmi Riza's new poster had been torn down after a visit by police.
What's happened?
Yeah, 8 hours later, something like that, Don't know exactly when. But when I talked to the car attendant here at the parking lot, they said the police came here at around 8 p.m. last night, asking him so many questions about the poster, who did it, This is just one more way for them to silence dissent in this country.
High time you leave this place.
Okay.
Because why?
Yeah.
Why should we leave?
Because he put the stick as a poster.
Yes.
Here. It's against the law.
It's against the law to put up a poster.
Yeah. My Prime Minister, this country's Prime Minister's photo.
Yes.
That is very bad.
But why can't we, as citizens, just express ourselves?
I call the police now. You can talk to them.
Why do you want to call the police?
Because he did something wrong. This is our Malaysian law.
Right.
Yeah, we cannot say bad things about our Prime Minister.
There's no law that says we cannot say bad things about the Prime Minister.
Okay, I'll go and call the police.
So you want to call the police on me?
Yeah.
For others, the consequences of dissent are far more serious. Khairuddin Hassan is a former senior politician from Prime Minister Najib's own party. Last year, he went to the UK, Switzerland, Singapore and Hong Kong to lodge police complaints about the huge sums of money pouring into the PM's accounts.
You see, my intention was to get the Foreign Legal Enforcement Authority to investigate on this 1MDB scandal. I didn't make any wild accusation or whatsoever. I flew abroad because I want to put it to the rules of law.
Khairuddin Hassan was jailed for 2 months on terrorism charges. He was accused of sabotaging the Malaysian economy.
Well, they accused that I was trying to sabotage the economy of Malaysia. Why I am arrested, detained, and charged under Terrorism Act. That is ridiculous. I was arrested and charged under that Terrorism Act, and my lawyer, for the first time in history, he is arrested alongside with me. A lawyer who is providing legal services to his client.
It didn't take long for our questions to start upsetting people. We went to a press conference starring a woman named A. Santamal Selvi.
This is a non-government organization.
Her husband was the private investigator, Bala, who witnessed the kidnapping of the murdered model. Bala died of a heart attack. His wife Selvi has been pursuing a lawsuit accusing the Prime Minister and his relatives of forcing her family out of the country for several years.
Nama saya Santamal Selvi.
In a dramatic backflip, she's decided to apologise to the Prime Minister.
Tujuan saya pada hari ini ialah ingin memohon maaf secara terbuka khususnya kepada Perdana Menteri Malaysia Datuk Seri Najib dan ahli keluarganya.
So let me ask you this.
Lain datang, lain jadi.
Mrs. Selvey, it's just so strange. Suddenly you apologise. You can see why it's confusing. Sorry, I'm asking Mrs. Selvey.
The press conference was exposed as a sham when, within minutes, Selvey withdrew her apology and revealed she'd been paid.
So you're not apologising to Najib?
No. The Balas SD is the right. It's true. Okay.
Why, Mrs. Selvey, suddenly you're changing your position so radically? Someone has come to the table with funds to help you in your difficult financial position, and you've taken a difficult decision, and one that perhaps is understandable, to change your story because the political pressure was just too great. Is that right?
No, she never changed any story here.
Well, she's changed the story twice already this morning.
You see, one story she changed.
Well, first, the statement says she apologised to Najib, but she just said clearly, no, she's not apologising to Najib. Which is it?
Saya tak nak buka cerita-cerita lain, okay? Sorry.
You won't answer any more questions, Mrs. Selvey?
Sorry, no more questions.
What was the total financial offer?
I come here for my children's education, that's all.
20,000.
Only
30,000 ringgit.
I need only 20,000.
20,000
The PKR
ringgit.
cannot give me the 20,000, so I come to this office for my children's education, that's all. Take my bag.
Do you think you feel...
Can you please stop asking questions? No more questions, please.
The man who organised the press conference, Ramesh Rao, is a political fixer who has staged similar events before.
Mrs. Selvey
What is
has
wrong
stuck...
with you, hey, white man? Can you see the paper statement? I'm helping the speaker guys and all that, and you are keep repeating, I'm off. Okay, I will make sure the children get a good education. I will help them. She apologized or not, that is not my problem. But my concern, I will make sure the children gets a good education. Done.
The event seemed to have been prompted by the realisation that 4corners was asking questions, and there were special branch agents scattered around the building.
Are you Malaysian Special Branch? Why is Malaysian intelligence here at this press conference? Can you answer some questions, sir?
It's the sort of farce that people have got used to in Malaysia. These extraordinary staged events, people retracting their evidence and clearly being paid and intimidated to do it.
A few hours later, we heard that Prime Minister Najib Razak had put out a press call and we jumped on a plane. The PM had invited the media to a rare public appearance on the island of Sarawak, where he was giving an evening campaign speech. It was the first and only chance we had to have Prime Minister Najib answer our questions.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. It's ABC Australia. I'm wondering if you can explain the hundreds of millions of dollars in your account. Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. Can you explain all the hundreds of millions of dollars in your account? Mr. Prime Minister.
What are you trying to do?
No, it's just a press conference.
No. Stay away. What are you trying to do?
Just ABC press conference.
Where's your identity? We do not know about you.
I'm just a journalist for a press conference. It's very sensitive here. We've just been questioned by the police and Malaysian intelligence. They've taken our passports and asked us where we were staying, made it very plain we were not welcome questioning the Malaysian Prime Minister about the huge volumes of money pouring into his account.
Okay.
Soon after, our van was pulled over. Cameraman Louis Iroglu and I were arrested and taken to the local police station.
Here we are, and our lawyers just arrived, Albert team. I'm here, I've been placed under arrest at police station in Sarawak. We're waiting for some legal advice, but at the moment it sounds like they're intending to charge us with obstructing a civil servant in the exercise of their duty just for throwing a question to the Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak.
Our passports were taken again and we were detained for 6 hours.
An ABC Four Corners crew was detained by Malaysian authorities overnight.
Things seem to be going from bad to worse in Malaysia.
Well, these are matters that we are raising with the Malaysian authorities.
The Four Corners team has been arrested in Malaysia.
We are deeply concerned about this. We are providing consular support to the ABC crew, and we're certainly raising the issue at the appropriate level within the Malaysian government.
Louis and I were banned from leaving Malaysia and warned we could face 2 years in jail. Late on the Monday night, we got bad news.
If your client do not plead guilty, then the matter will go to trial, and in which case the Senior Federal Counsel may ask the court for the passports of Linton and Louis to be retained by the court. Of course.
We were to face court the next day to hear criminal charges read against us. But 6 hours later, there was a bang on my door. The authorities had suddenly changed their minds. The charges were to be dropped. We were free to go, but for those who live in Malaysia, the crackdown continues.
They've resorted to sheer intimidation and threats. They're no longer able to rely on law enforcement to protect their position. So they're just letting people know if they do cross them, they'll just be met with sheer intimidation. I mean, they're pulling charges out of the air to throw at people and shoving people in jail because, of course, under current rules, you can be thrown into jail and kept there for months without a court appearance. So they're just threatening people now. And it's very effective. It's amazing how effective it is.
Millions of ordinary Malaysians are watching the unfolding drama with wary resignation. How long Prime Minister Najib Razak can hold on to power is anyone's guess.
He has to go because his policies are doing a great deal of harm to the country. He has undermined all the institutions of government created to make sure that the country is well run. So all the institutions that guard public interest are not functioning anymore. So that gives him almost absolute power.
In any other country, a Prime Minister linked to so many allegations of corruption would have been impeached by now. What is it going to take in Malaysia?
I think that Malaysia is waiting for foreign action. I think they feel disempowered, helpless. I think after years and years of increasing dictatorial control, they no longer feel they have a democracy. There is an atmosphere of total fear amongst the people who should be taking action to see law and order enforced against Najib.